What if everything you think you know about spirituality is incomplete? What if the most powerful teachings were hidden in plain sight, kept from you, distorted, or erased altogether? Hermetism is the foundation of nearly all spiritual traditions, yet most people have never even heard of it. And those who have, they've only been given fragments, stripped of their deeper meaning, diluted into modern self-help philosophies that barely scratch the surface. This is not just another belief system. It is a blueprint, a coded manual for understanding reality itself. The Kybalion, the Emerald Tablets, the lost teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, these contain secrets that can shatter illusions, reveal hidden forces, and give you the keys to unlocking true spiritual power. But if this knowledge is so powerful, why has it been buried for centuries? Why have rulers, religious institutions, and even modern spiritual movements worked to suppress it? The answer is simple. Because the moment you understand Hermetic wisdom, you become impossible to control. Hermetic wisdom is older than history itself. It did not begin with modern spirituality, nor with the secret societies that studied it in the shadows. Its roots stretch back to the ancient temples of Egypt, where priests and initiates guarded knowledge so powerful that it had to be veiled in symbolism to protect it from those who would misuse it. The name Hermes Trismegistus, meaning thrice great Hermes, was not just a man, but a title, a legacy of wisdom passed down through the ages, blending Egyptian, Greek, and esoteric traditions into one cohesive system of universal laws. The Emerald Tablets, attributed to Hermes, were said to hold the secrets of creation, transformation, and the mastery of reality. The Kybalion, written centuries later, condensed these teachings into the 7 Hermetic principles, rules that govern everything from the nature of thought to the fabric of existence itself. These texts were not meant for the masses. They were meant for those who sought deeper truth, for those willing to step beyond blind faith and into the realm of absolute understanding. But not everyone was ready for this knowledge. Throughout history, those in power recognized that Hermetic wisdom granted something dangerous, true sovereignty over the self. It taught that reality is mental, that the world we experience is shaped by consciousness, and that those who understand these laws can shape their destiny. This was the exact opposite of what rulers and religious institutions wanted. They needed people to believe in external power, gods that judged them, kings that ruled them, and laws that could not be questioned. They needed control, and control requires ignorance. So the teachings were buried. The Catholic Church declared them heretical. Hermetic schools were outlawed, their texts burned or hidden away in Vatican vaults. Alchemists and scholars who dared to study these principles were either branded as sorcerers or forced into secret societies to preserve the knowledge in silence. Even as the Renaissance brought a revival of Hermetic philosophy, it remained out of reach for the common person. Coded into allegories, whispered in Masonic lodges, kept behind closed doors where only the initiated could access it. Yet, despite all efforts to suppress it, Hermetism never truly disappeared. It survived in fragments, embedded within Kabbalah, Sufism, and the mystical branches of Christianity. It surfaced in the writings of great minds like Newton, Da Vinci, and Giordano Bruno, who saw in it the keys to unlocking the mysteries of the universe. And now, for the first time in centuries, the pieces are being reassembled, and the truth is coming to light once again. But here's what they don't want you to know. The real power of Hermetic knowledge goes far beyond what can be shared openly. Some teachings are too profound, too disruptive to discuss on platforms like this. That's why we created Insights Academy, a space where the deeper layers of hidden wisdom are revealed. Join now through the link below, and for a limited time, you'll receive a free copy of The Kybalion. Because once you understand what the Hermetic masters knew, your perception of reality will never be the same. You will see through the illusion, beyond the distractions, and into the very structure of the universe itself. The only question is, what will you do with that knowledge? The universe is not chaos. It is not random. It is governed by unseen forces, laws that shape everything from the movement of galaxies to the thoughts in your mind. These laws were not invented by humans. They were observed, studied, and recorded by the ancient masters. They are the 7 Hermetic principles, and whether you are aware of them or not, they are at work in your life right now. The first is mentalism. The all is mind. Everything begins in thought. The universe itself is a mental construct, and your reality is shaped by the dominant patterns of your consciousness. This is why what you believe, what you focus on, and what you accept as truth becomes the foundation of your existence. The power of creation lies not in the physical world, but in the mind that perceives it. The second is correspondence. As above, so below, as within, so without. This is the law of mirrors. The same structures that shape the cosmos shape your body, your mind, and your soul. The patterns of the macro reflect in the micro. This is why self-mastery leads to external mastery. Those who understand this principle see beyond surface illusions and into the underlying connections that bind all things. The third is vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The reality you experience is nothing more than different frequencies interacting with one another. Your emotions, your thoughts, your very physical body, everything is in a state of motion. This is why raising your vibration shifts your experience of reality. Fear, anger, and confusion operate on low frequencies, keeping you trapped in dense states of existence. Love, clarity, and enlightenment vibrate at higher frequencies, opening doors that lower states could never access. The fourth is polarity. Everything is dual. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Love and hate, hot and cold, dark and light. These are not separate forces but two extremes of the same thing. Understanding polarity allows you to shift your state of being, transmuting fear into courage, doubt into wisdom, weakness into strength. The fifth is rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. There are cycles in everything: nature, history, emotions, energy. Those who do not understand rhythm are at its mercy, controlled by its waves without realizing it. Those who do understand it learn how to move with the currents rather than fight them. The sixth is cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance. Every action has a reaction. Every thought has a consequence. To the unconscious, life appears random. To the initiated, it is a precise sequence of events, governed by cause. This is why some people seem to predict the future. They are not predicting. They are simply reading the pattern. The seventh and final law is gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. This is not about biological sex. It is about the forces of creation. The masculine is projective, active, the force that initiates. The feminine is receptive, nurturing, the force that manifests. Nothing can be created without the balance of both energies. The most powerful minds understand how to balance and use both forces within themselves. These are not abstract ideas. They are laws, just like gravity. Ignore them, and you will be bound by them unknowingly. Master them, and you gain control over your reality in ways that seem impossible to the untrained mind. But here's the truth. They do not want you to know this. Society keeps you distracted with meaningless entertainment, social division, and superficial desires, all to keep you from realizing that the keys to creation have always been within you. Once you start applying these principles, you become unpredictable, unstoppable. You break free from the illusions that keep most people blind. The question is, will you continue to be a passive observer of reality, or will you start creating it? Hermetic wisdom is not a fringe philosophy. It is not an obscure belief system tucked away in ancient texts. It is the foundation of nearly every major spiritual and mystical tradition that has ever existed. The deeper you look, the more you see its fingerprints hidden within the world's religions, occult practices, and esoteric teachings. And yet, most people have no idea where these ideas truly come from, or how they've been deliberately disguised. The roots of Hermetism trace back to ancient Egypt, where it was known as the sacred science of Thoth, the god of wisdom, writing, and divine knowledge. This wisdom later merged with Greek philosophy, where it became the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, blending Egyptian metaphysics with Platonic and Pythagorean thought. The Greeks studied these principles intensely, recognizing that true power came not from political rule, but from mastery of the unseen forces that govern reality. But the true extent of Hermetic influence goes much deeper. If you examine Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and even Eastern traditions like Hinduism and Buddhism, you will find traces of Hermetic knowledge woven into their spiritual core. Take Christianity. The concept of the Logos, the divine word that creates reality, is nothing more than mentalism, the first Hermetic principle. The idea that as you sow, so shall you reap, is just cause and effect rebranded. Even the concept of divine duality, light and darkness, heaven and earth, Christ and Lucifer, mirrors polarity, the principle that opposites are the same in nature but different in degree. The deeper levels of Christian mysticism, such as Gnosticism and the teachings of the earlier Essenes, were filled with Hermetic knowledge. But the Church erased these connections, branding them heretical, because true spiritual wisdom eliminates the need for external religious authority. The same pattern appears in Islam and Sufism. The mystical branch of Islam, Sufism, speaks of the oneness of being, Wahdat al-Wujud, a clear reflection of mentalism, the idea that all is one mind. The great Sufi masters practiced vibrational energy work, sacred geometry, and deep meditative states, techniques that align perfectly with Hermetic teachings on vibration and correspondence. But just like in Christianity, the more esoteric branches of Islam were marginalized, their deeper knowledge pushed aside to maintain control over the masses. Judaism also holds deep Hermetic influence. The Kabbalah, the mystical tradition of Jewish thought, is almost a mirror image of Hermetic principles. The tree of life structure reflects correspondence, the idea that different levels of existence mirror one another. The concept of tikkun olam, repairing the world, is nothing more than the law of cause and effect, applied to the soul's evolution. And the use of Hebrew letters to shape reality is directly tied to mentalism, the idea that thought creates. Even in the East, we find traces of Hermetism hidden in plain sight. Hinduism speaks of Brahman, the ultimate consciousness that permeates everything, just another way of describing the all is mind. The Taoist concept of yin and yang is simply polarity and gender in action. The Buddhist understanding of impermanence and cyclic existence, that's the law of rhythm. Everything flows, rises, and falls in perfect balance. The same principles keep appearing again and again across different cultures and traditions. Why? Because truth is universal. The great mystics of every era did not discover different systems. They all uncovered the same underlying reality. They all tapped into the Hermetic blueprint, whether they called it alchemy, enlightenment, divine wisdom, or the path to self-realization. But here's where things took a darker turn. As religions and governments rose to power, the original Hermetic teachings were systematically buried, rewritten, and diluted. What was once about direct experience of the divine became a system of rules, dogma, and external control. The masses were given stories, rituals, and traditions. But the deeper knowledge, the real power to shape reality, was reserved for those behind closed doors. This is why you won't hear about Hermetism in mainstream religious teachings. Because if people knew the truth, that they don't need an institution, an authority, or an external savior to access higher states of being, the entire system would collapse. The knowledge wasn't lost, it was hidden. It was preserved in secret societies, in the whispers of mystics, in the coded language of alchemists and philosophers. It was passed down through the Rosicrucians, the Freemasons, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, always remaining just outside the reach of the general public. And now, as humanity awakens, the knowledge is resurfacing. But the question is, will you reclaim it? Or will you allow yourself to be guided by half-truths, surface-level spirituality, and the illusion of external control. Because make no mistake, the choice has always been yours. For centuries, the most powerful institutions in the world have fought to suppress Hermetic knowledge. Not because it was dangerous in the way they claimed, not because it was heretical or occult, but because it was liberating. The moment people understood these principles, they could no longer be manipulated. They would no longer look to external authorities to define their reality. They would no longer be slaves. The first great war against Hermetic wisdom began with the rise of organized religion. The early Christian church absorbed fragments of Hermetic thought, but only in ways that kept the masses dependent on an external god, a priesthood, and a set of rules. The deeper truths, the ones that taught self-mastery, mind over matter, and direct access to divine wisdom, were cut out. Gnostic texts, which were heavily influenced by Hermeticism, were declared heretical and destroyed. The Library of Alexandria, one of the greatest depositories of esoteric knowledge, was burned to the ground, and those who dared to study the deeper mysteries were either silenced or branded as heretics. Then came the Catholic Church's systematic destruction of Hermetic teachings. The Corpus Hermeticum, the foundational texts of Hermeticism, was nearly lost to history. In the medieval period, studying alchemy, astrology, or sacred geometry, key elements of Hermetic practice, was enough to be tortured, exiled, or executed. The Inquisition didn't just target witches, it targeted anyone who understood that reality was not what the Church claimed it to be. By the time the scientific revolution arrived, a new war on Hermeticism began. This time, it wasn't religion suppressing the knowledge, it was materialism. Hermetic principles, which teach that the universe is mental, that thought shapes reality, that energy and consciousness are primary forces, were ridiculed and replaced with the cold, mechanical worldview of Newtonian physics. The elite scientists of the time took what they could from Hermetic traditions. Newton himself was obsessed with alchemy, but they stripped away the deeper spiritual meaning. Everything became physical, measurable, predictable. Anything outside this framework was labeled superstition. By the 20th century, Hermeticism had been all but erased from mainstream thought. The education system ensured that people were trained to be workers, not thinkers. The media shaped narratives that kept people entertained, distracted, and docile. The financial system ensured that most people were too busy surviving to even think about questioning reality. And those who did begin to awaken, they were led into shallow, diluted versions of spirituality that lacked true power. But here's what they don't tell you. The same elites who mock Hermetic wisdom publicly study it in private. The same forces that push materialism onto the masses practice esoteric knowledge behind closed doors. Freemasons, Rosicrucians, elite power groups, they have always understood the power of vibration, the law of mentalism, the cycles of rhythm and polarity. They use these principles to shape financial markets, influence global events, and control the collective consciousness. Think about it. If reality is mental, and those in power understand how to control perception, then what happens? They dictate the thoughts, emotions, and beliefs of entire populations, without them ever realizing it. They keep people operating at low frequencies, fear, division, anger, consumerism, because a population that vibrates low can never access higher states of awareness. Now ask yourself, why is Hermeticism still considered esoteric? Why is it never taught in schools, never discussed in mainstream media, never acknowledged in the institutions that shape society? Because the greatest trick they ever pulled was convincing you that you have no power. But here's the truth. You were never meant to be weak, distracted, and dependent on external systems. You were meant to be a creator, a conscious architect of your reality, a master of the unseen forces that shape existence. And the reason they spent centuries suppressing this knowledge is because once you remember who you truly are, they lose all control over you. The war on Hermetic wisdom has never been about protecting you from dangerous knowledge. It has been about keeping you asleep, because the moment enough people wake up and apply these principles to their lives, the entire structure of control crumbles. And that is the one thing they fear the most. Hermetic wisdom was never meant to be a trend. It was never meant to be reduced to social media soundbites or repackaged as feel-good self-help. Yet today, that's exactly what has happened. The very knowledge that was once hidden, protected, and studied in secrecy by the world's most enlightened minds has been watered down, stripped of its depth, and turned into yet another product for mass consumption. Look at modern spirituality. Everywhere you turn, you hear about manifestation, about how you can think positive thoughts, and the universe will reward you. You're told to just raise your vibration, and everything will align in your favor. But this is only a fraction of the truth, and a dangerous one at that. The law of attraction, as it's popularly taught today, is incomplete, an oversimplified distortion of mentalism, vibration, and cause and effect. True Hermetic wisdom does not teach that simply thinking about success will bring it to you. It teaches that your entire being must align with what you desire, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your discipline. The universe does not hand out rewards to those who wish for them. It responds to those who understand the full spectrum of reality and act accordingly. But the modern spiritual movement has erased the deeper teachings because they require effort, mastery, and responsibility, things most people are unwilling to face. Instead, they are sold the illusion of instant enlightenment, where they can bypass the hard work, ignore their own shortcomings, and expect the universe to magically hand them success. The most powerful principles of Hermeticism have been ignored because they require true self-mastery. Polarity, for example, teaches that opposites are the same in nature but different in degree. This means that suffering and joy, weakness and strength, ignorance and wisdom, these are not separate forces but points on a single spectrum. The only way to change your state is to transmute it, to take control of the energy you are experiencing and shift it deliberately. But modern spirituality does not teach this. It teaches avoidance. It teaches suppression. It tells people to reject their negative emotions rather than transform them. And this is exactly why so many are trapped in cycles of frustration, confusion, and unfulfilled desires. Then there's cause and effect, one of the most powerful laws of all. This principle states that nothing happens by chance, that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Yet modern spirituality tells people they are victims, that life is random, that external forces dictate their fate. This is a complete inversion of the truth. If you do not take control of the causes in your life, you will always be at the mercy of the effects created by others. And what about rhythm? The understanding that everything moves in cycles, that highs and lows, expansion and contraction, are natural laws of existence. Instead of teaching people to work with these cycles, modern spirituality sells the illusion that happiness should be constant, that life should be effortless, and that any form of hardship is a sign that something is wrong. But here's what they don't tell you. True wisdom does not come from comfort. It comes from mastery of the cycles, from understanding the flow of energy and learning to move with it instead of against it. So why has spirituality been diluted? Why has Hermeticism been reduced to cherry-picked fragments instead of being taught in its entirety? Because an incomplete system keeps people weak. It keeps them chasing happiness instead of understanding its polarity. It keeps them manifesting without taking real action. It keeps them passive, waiting for the universe to fix their lives instead of mastering the laws that govern their existence. And that is exactly what the system wants. A spiritual movement that does not empower people, but sedates them. A belief system that makes people feel good in the moment, but does not give them real knowledge that would make them independent. A philosophy that sells dreams instead of delivering truth. But the ancient masters knew better. They understood that true transformation requires depth, effort, and an uncompromising pursuit of real knowledge. The watered-down spirituality of today is not real Hermeticism. If you want true power, you must go deeper. You must seek beyond the surface, beyond what is popular, beyond what is convenient. Because only those who are willing to seek the full truth will ever break free from the illusion. Understanding Hermetic wisdom is one thing. Applying it is another. Knowledge without action is useless. The ancient masters did not simply study these principles, they lived them. And that is what separates those who transform their reality from those who remain trapped in illusion. The first and most powerful realization is that you are the cause of everything in your life. This is the law of mentalism and cause and effect working together. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions are not just reactions to the world around you. They are the forces shaping it. If you are unhappy, unfulfilled, or stuck, it is because you have unknowingly created those conditions. But here's the secret. If you created them, you can uncreate them. You must train your mind to recognize that your internal state dictates your external world. This is where correspondence comes in. As within, so without. If you allow negativity, doubt, or fear to dominate your consciousness, you will see it reflected everywhere. If you align your mind with clarity, mastery, and purpose, the world will begin to mirror that back to you. But awareness alone is not enough. You must also take action. This is where the law of vibration becomes critical. Every thought, every emotion, every word you speak carries a frequency. You cannot simply wish for change while vibrating at the frequency of the problem. You must shift your entire being to match the outcome you desire. This means eliminating negativity, not by suppressing it, but by transmuting it into higher awareness. Speaking only words that reinforce the reality you want to create. Surrounding yourself with environments, people, and energy that align with your highest state. Practicing daily mental discipline through meditation, visualization, and focused intent. Then comes polarity, the ability to shift states at will. Most people live as slaves to their emotions. They wake up feeling one way and assume they are stuck in that energy. But the Hermetic master understands that every state has an opposite, and that the key to power is learning how to shift between them. If you are in fear, shift toward confidence. If you are in doubt, shift toward certainty. If you are in darkness, shift toward light. The ability to control your polarity is the ability to control your destiny. You must also learn rhythm, the ebb and flow of life. Most people fight the natural cycles. They expect success without struggle, growth without resistance, power without discipline. But the master understands that everything moves in waves. There will be times of expansion and times of contraction. Instead of resisting these cycles, you must learn to move with them. In moments of retreat, you refine your skills. In moments of opportunity, you strike with full force. This is how you move in harmony with the universe, rather than being at war with it. And then there is gender, the balance of the masculine and feminine forces within you. This is not about man and woman. It is about the two energetic currents of creation. The masculine is logic, direction, action. The feminine is intuition, receptivity, flow. To manifest anything, you must master both. If you are only in your masculine, you will be aggressive but disconnected. If you are only in your feminine, you will be intuitive but passive. The balance of both is what allows you to create powerfully and effortlessly. But here is the most important truth of all. You must take full responsibility for your own evolution. No one is coming to save you. No guru, no government, no external force will ever give you the power you refuse to claim for yourself. Hermeticism teaches that the universe is mental. This means you are the architect of your own reality. Everything you experience is a direct result of the frequency you hold, the thoughts you accept, and the actions you take. If you wish to break free from illusion, you must stop looking outside of yourself for answers. You must stop blaming external forces for your circumstances. You must stop waiting for the right moment to take control of your mind, your energy, your destiny. Because the moment you do, you become unstoppable. They never wanted you to know this. They never wanted you to realize that the same laws used by the elite, by secret societies, by the most powerful minds in history, were always available to you. They wanted you distracted, dependent, passive. They wanted you believing that your reality is dictated by chance, fate, or forces beyond your control. But now, you know better. Hermetic wisdom is not a theory. It is not a belief system. It is a blueprint for power. Power over your mind, your energy, your reality. And if you understand it, if you apply it, you will begin to see the world differently. You will see how thoughts create patterns, how cycles predict events, how vibration dictates experience. You will no longer feel like a victim of circumstance, but a conscious force shaping the very fabric of your existence. But this is where most people fail. They hear the truth, they feel the weight of it, but they do nothing. They retreat into old habits, old excuses, old programming. They let the world pull them back into the illusion of limitation, scarcity, and fear. And that is the ultimate test. Because knowledge without action is just another form of ignorance. The true Hermetic master does not just know, they become. They train their mind to operate on a higher frequency. They align their actions with universal law. They take responsibility for everything in their life. No excuses, no compromises, no exceptions. And that is what separates those who break free from those who remain trapped. The system is designed to keep you asleep. It bombards you with distractions, poisons your mind with false beliefs, and buries this knowledge under layers of misinformation and distortion. But now you have a choice. You can step back into ignorance, or you can step forward into mastery. But be warned, once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. Once you begin applying these laws, your reality will shift in ways you never imagined. You will start to notice the patterns everywhere. You will see the mechanisms of control for what they are. You will feel the vibrations of people, places, and ideas, recognizing what empowers you and what weakens you. This is what they fear most. An awakened mind, a sovereign being, a force that cannot be manipulated. And that is why they spent centuries suppressing this knowledge. Because once enough people reclaim it, the illusion shatters. The game is over. But there is more, much more, that cannot be spoken of here. Some truths are too powerful, too disruptive to be shared openly. That is why we created Insights Academy, where we go deeper into what cannot be revealed on platforms like this. Sign up now before it's too late, and for a limited time, you will receive a free copy of the Kybalion, but only if you act before the opportunity disappears. This is your moment. The knowledge has been placed in your hands. The question is, what will you do with it? If this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting, "I understood it."